Going to move on to our next movie, coming in at number two. Nicolas Cage was on a round table just round about Christmas time, and I think that he was actually
I've just ruined the suspense of it. I'll go back to Coda.
talking about this film on his round table.
He was, yes.
And it's a simple title. It's called Pig, and this was directed by Michael Sarnowski and stars Nicolas Cage, Alex Wolff, and Adam Arkin. Now, John, you did say for quite a while that you wanted to see this film. Being a massive
story. I told you this is a story of 2021 for me.
Yeah, but you are a massive Nicolas Cage fan.
I'm a huge fan of him.
You do appreciate.
He's became a figure of fun. In recent times, he's a meme. People like to go after him. They forget what this guy's accomplished. He's an Academy Award-winning actor, and he is tremendous when he's on it. He does do some mental things at times, but he's an incredible actor. And when you hear him speaking, you understand that he has an incredible knowledge for film. He's a real connoisseur of film. This guy gets it. He's off the Coppolas. It shouldn't be a surprise. So I do enjoy Nick Cage. I enjoy the fact that he in certain movies he'll just go 150 mile an hour right into it. Doesn't care. I love that, man. And the fact that he'll do different kinds of stuff. He probably churns out about 50 movies a year. I don't know the exact number. But he's keeping himself going, he's enjoying what he's doing, and that's ultimately all that matters. And in the odd occasion he will put out a tremendous movie, which by all accounts this is.
Yeah, no, I Pig is the Nicolas Cage movie in my mind. I've been a long-time fan of his for quite some time now, and well, I guess that goes to say with long-time fan. brain a bit fried, but I consider him a true artist, a true connoisseur. It wasn't until sort of, my 20s that I started to actually appreciate Nick Cage as an actor. And I think once I did, it started to really open up like a lot of perspective of how I saw even some of the more eclectic performances in his,
and there is a few.
And
he's never went Travolta though. He's never went John Travolta level. He's never ever, for me, he'll do zany things, but he's never struck me as a guy that will phone in. He's always heart and soul right into the project, and he gives his all.
He just cares, and he cares in maybe a different way than a lot of other people can sort of perceive it. And I think that he definitely has an ego, and I think that maybe gets the better of him at times, or at least in like the early 2000s when his career, I guess, was sort of stalling. But ultimately, he's always just been someone that's so passionate about the work, and trying to communicate it in the only way that he really knows how to. And a lot of times that comes across to people as, grossly self-indulgent or really just unnecessarily provocative. And I think that while those are criticisms that you can certainly levy against his performances, I don't think that it's what encompasses all of them, because he can be self-indulgent to a point, but at the end of the day, he is always trying to get at the heart of whatever the content is that he's trying to portray. He does have an earnest effort to make a collective whole, make a collective piece. And like you said, like, he is a true lover of film.
He does, you can hear it.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff. He really, really does know his stuff. I mean, I think it was, I can't recall, it was on YouTube that it came up, his best performances or something like that. One of those videos, it may be Variety or something like that to do it. I don't think it is. GQ, something like that. And you can tell by listening to the guy that he's got a true passion for the game, for movies. And again, he's Francis Ford Coppola's nephew, isn't he?
So
he's
Coppola,
off a steamed sort of film blood, for lack of a better term. So he's
you can see that in his performances, regardless of the quality of film that he is in, whether that be a film like Knowing, where a great concept, maybe a weak ending, his devotion and his passion and time that he puts into that performance, is what makes it a good film. It's his you can say that he carries certain films just because it's Nicolas Cage, but he's got a real knack and he's got a real commitment to character acting as well. You see it when he played Big Daddy and Kick-Ass. You know,
huge comic book fan.
Yeah, he is a huge comic book fan. You're absolutely right, John. And you know, reading into his performance and how he wanted to portray that character, and paying homage to Adam West's Bruce Wayne / Batman, you know, and if you watch that film and you don't read up on why he did this, as you said, John, he's a big comic book fan. You would think he was absolutely taking the piss. You know, you think, is this guy being serious? You know, he's acting very strange in this film, and at times, you know, a little bit zany. But if you know your history on this actor, you'll know that it's not a piss take. This is how he wants to portray this. This is how his version of this character. And every time you see him in a film, he nails it for me. It doesn't matter how bad that film is, he's not the problem in the film.
Oh, I mean, Wicker Man.
Wicker Man, yeah.
But obviously he's still acting his arse off, for lack of a better term. But Steve, I may have just read the it's a fucking terrible movie though, let's be honest. I may have just read the greatest Nick Cage thing I've ever read. You know, he says that he's a goth. He lives with a pet crow that insults him. I just that has made my entire year already. We're only what, 28 days in?
Yeah.
And it's made my entire year already. Nick Cage describes himself as having a pet. He's got a pet crow and it adds a goth element to his life. Love it. That's enough for me. That's enough for me, man. The way he dresses as well, he just doesn't give a shit. He's not going 60. He's brilliant, honestly, he's brilliant. Absolutely love him.
I did not misfire once. I did not.
I did not. Yeah, oh, I love him. I love him, man. And I'll fight his corner all day long. Not that he needs me.
I can't wait for your review on this film, John.
I'm going to watch it. I'm absolutely going to watch it. It's a short movie as well, if I'm not wrong. It's only about an hour and a half long.
Hour 30. Yeah, not a minute wasted.
Brilliant.
It's a really contemplative drama. It's also, I mean, just weirdly, like the second year in a row now that I have a first-time director as number 2 on my top 10 of the year list. Because last year we had what was it, The Sound of Metal, which I also thought was.
Oh yeah, Riz Ahmed, yeah.
And this is much the same, where it's just like it's these contemplative, tight-knit dramas, these indie things. There's a lot of really strong performances. I mean, you mentioned Arkin, you mentioned Alex Wolff. I mean, they both do really good jobs bouncing off of Cage. But at the end of the day, this is Cage's film, and I think he talked about it in that roundtable you were mentioning, where he was like the reading it just sung to him, and you can absolutely see it in the performance. There is something so contained within him. There is so much underlying work, scoring every single step that he makes in this performance here. There is this breadth of lore that he has added to this character, and it influences every single piece of dialogue, and it gives so much more weight to these sort of nuanced moments that I think a lesser actor would not have mind in any way even close. But I mean, the script is just that deep. It's deep enough that Cage is able to really sink his teeth completely into it and give completely new life to the types of themes that he's broaching here. It's a film that's deeply about grief, but it's not just about grief. It's about the dissociation of grief, how grief can push us to sort of fabric ends of society and make us completely detached from the lives that we once knew. Yeah. It's a way of sort of protecting ourselves, coddling ourselves with what's familiar to us in our reality. It's I mean, it's a film that's about food, you know, and that may sound weird, but like the food is actually like a really important thematic aspect of Pig. It's this sort of cyclical nature of this thing that goes into you, comes out of you, gives back to the earth, the same way the life and death cycle of the earth works. There's a sort of congruence, there's a parallel sort of plot line happening here with the core themes that a lesser writer just can't do. So, I mean, this is a marvel of a film. It's my brother's favorite film of the year, and I'm hard-pressed to argue with him because it's really that good. Even beyond giving the best performance of the year. If it were my choice, it would be Nick Cage taking the Oscar.
Oh God, I'd love to see him win an Oscar again. Yeah. That would be incredible, man.
Yeah. And he deserves it for this. Unfortunately, I think it came out at the wrong time. But there was 2 things I wanted to say, and then if you guys want to move on, we can move on. But you had mentioned Kick-Ass, and we were talking about Just this, because he goes for it. That's his whole thing. That's the criticism that everybody can levy to him. And I think that there's that scene in Kick-Ass, and this is spoilers, but he's on fire, and he's still trying to coach Hit Girl through how to sort of circumnavigate the situation that she's found herself in. And a lesser actor, a more safe actor, I think, would have played the scene less about being on fire, more about connecting with the girl. Yeah. And Cage said, no, the guy is on fire. He's going to scream at the top of his lungs, and he's going to try to communicate exactly what he needs to get the moment across. And it's one of the most emotional moments in that movie.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
It's actually the thing that I remember the most about Kick-Ass is that moment. And then the other thing was The Wicker Man, and this is just kind of silly, but The Wicker Man has, I think, my favorite line maybe in film ever. When it was, it's that scene. He walks up and someone's holding like a grocery bag. It's like a paper bag. And he looks at it and he's like, oh, what's in the bag? A shark or something? And it's like...
That was like an impression, by the way. That was close. What's in the bag? I can't do.
But speaking to, like, I think Steven had said in an earlier comment, it's never Cage's fault, and, John had wisely levied The Wicker Man, but I still think it's not Cage's fault, because that line exists, someone else wrote it, and it's in that movie, so it can't all be Cage's fault.
I always say that about George Lucas and Star Wars, that it was never truly any of those actors' faults. They were guilty by association.
You can type that shit, but you can't see it.
You can type that shit, you can't see it. Yeah. That is ultimately why George should really have gave his entire wealth to his wife, because she pretty much single-handedly saved his Star Wars thing. She re-edited it along with, was it Kurtz?
Yeah, Gary Kurtz,
and saved that entire franchise. But I'm going off on another tangent.
We're going to move